Hey everybody, welcome to USA Wrestling's Moments Off the Mat. My name is Mike Clayton. I'm your National Coaches Education Program Manager. And today we're joined with special guest Dr. Higgins from Neuro Athlete. Dr. Higgins, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Mike. This is exciting. Thanks.
You bet. Well, appreciate your time. I know you're busy making sure everybody is mobile and hostile. Maybe not hostile.
Ability to be hostile. How's that?
I like it. I think that's great. So I like to tell folks a little bit about how we met. About 3 years ago, I was getting ready for a long-distance hike on the Appalachian Trail. I was having what I thought was a problem with a hamstring, is where I was feeling some pain, and had a friend recommend your clinic. And when I came in, you said it wasn't a problem with my hamstring, and I said, well, I pretty much know where my hamstring is, and that's where it hurts. And that's kind of where my education with mobility began, and started to realize the tibial issues and the way my foot was structured, and just some different things that I have the ability now to control with your help. And that's kind of what you're going to talk to us about a little bit today. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Where does performance come from, really?
I love it. And it starts kind of at the base, right? Is that kind of the theory?
Yeah, and it starts in a more simple place than most of us think about. And we could get into a lot of things, but really we're going to really focus in around where performance comes from is the information, the ability for joints to move really well and inform the nervous system as to what's going on, and is it safe to move, is it safe to perform, or do I need to hold back and protect this guy from hurting himself further?
You said how the joints are communicating with the brain. Could you explain that to me? Because I've been kicked in the head a lot in my line of work.
Yeah. So on a really basic level, we've heard, especially if you've been in physical therapy at any time or another, that you have to have good proprioception, that you have to have, and that proprioception is the information predominantly coming from joints, the nerve endings in the joints that sense movement and pressure and stretch and those types of things. And those signals go into the nervous system and tell the system what's happening at this joint here and what's happening in the series of joints that are moving at any one time. And then the brain needs to make a decision. Is this movement safe, or is it dangerous, and do I need to put the brakes on? If I need to put the brakes on, I'm going to make you tighter, I'm going to make you weaker, I'm going to make you slower, I'm going to make you painful, those types of things. Or if everything's moving well and the information coming from these joints is positive, I can give you performance. I can make you instantaneously stronger. I can make you more flexible than doing a half an hour of yoga. I can make you faster and more responsive on the mat or in a combative situation of any kind. And it really starts, especially for an athlete, it starts here at these joints. Are they moving properly? And if they're moving properly, then we're getting the best information, and then the skill can really come out.
And you had mentioned at one point you'd seen an older gentleman on the surgical table during your training.
Yeah.
And the flexibility's in us already.
Yeah, I wish that this clicked when I saw it. So I'm one of the few chiropractors that got to do surgical rotations, and one of my very first ones was in a surgical situation where an 86-year-old man was having urinary problems, and so they put him on a table and they have his legs spread eagle. Well, this guy couldn't touch his kneecaps, much less go in that range of motion. Here's this guy that's doing something that cheerleaders try to do all the time, and him unconsciously can do it. What's the difference? The question that I should have asked right off the bat was, why is this different? What's different between him awake and being stiff and him unconscious and being able to be put in splits? The only difference is that this is no longer attached to this. And so it's no longer telling the muscle to be tight because it doesn't think something's working right and it's having to protect you. So when he's awake, it's getting all that information that's making him stiff because his movement's terrible. He has degeneration and arthritis and everything. And so he gets tight in order to keep him from falling apart. And I wish I picked that up earlier, because I could have helped a lot more people a lot faster if I'd realized how this drives this, not the other way around.
That's really cool. So you're going to show us a video clip. It was kind of prepared for the show. And in this video clip, you're kind of going through mobility for us, right? Could you set us up a little bit on this?
Yeah, so where we start in the clinic and with our training is trying to clean up the mobility for the person. So that way, again, the nervous system can drive the system well and it can do it efficiently. So what we're doing here is we're going through just a series of mobility drills to basically wake up the nervous system, get it moving properly, allow us to find problems and fix problems before we actually do any kind of training.
Great. So this is really something that we can do at home that's going to be able to turn our bodies on for higher performance and maybe even some reduced risk of injury.
Oh, most definitely. If you're more responsive to your environment and in wrestling, the other person that you're coming in contact with, your chances of injury go way down and your chances of success go way up.
And we've seen that. We've had some coaches that have worked with you and they've kind of implemented a lot of this training and they've seen some good instances of reduced knee and lower extremities for sure already.
Yeah, out in Pennsylvania, we had a coach that went to one of your silver medal clinics, and he took away the tools that we were teaching there, implemented them across his whole program, and that year they experienced zero lower body injuries, just doing a series of 4 basic movements, and other teams picked up the practice as well in the college.
I think that was one of the first things when I started to work with you guys. I thought, man, if this had been available to me when I was in college, dealing with ankles and knees and having 3 knee operations and all the time I lost, from being on the mat and training, like, man, if I could have just had that, I almost call it like the magic pill. This is about as close as I've ever found to what a magic pill is. If you're willing to do these mobility drills at home, because that's the key, right?
Yeah, it really is, and it's not hard, and it's speaking to the most fundamental piece of performance. And just like every sport, right, it's the fundamentals that make the athlete, right? The athlete that has the fundamentals can go that extra mile to do the amazing moves that they become known for. But if they don't have the fundamentals, anything beyond that is just not going to be effective.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know it's changed the way I thought maybe I was even done hiking years ago. And now I've been doing distance hiking every year and feeling a lot better about things. And it's nice to even be able to just turn my neck. So
the simple things, yes.
Great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and we'll cue up this clip. And then as soon as the clip's done, we'll jump back in and keep the conversation going.
Excellent.
Where we're going to start here, of course, we're trying to move as many joints in the body so that way we can enhance our nervous system's connection to the whole body by moving joints where a lot of those sensors are. So we're going to start at the feet because that's where everything starts, right? You push on the ground pushes on you. So if we're moving well here, everything else moves better as we move up the chain. So just starting a nice, good, tall posture, always breathing, relaxed, and upright and aiming towards the ceiling when you're doing any of these. First one is going to be just a simple ankle tilt. You're going to take the foot out in front, turn the foot across the body, and then we're going to do an ankle tilt out to the side. As you're doing this, you'll feel a slight opening of the joint. Not necessarily a stretch is required, just to the outside of the ankle bone right there. So again, we're going to do 3 to 5 repetitions of this ankle tilt, and then we're going to take the same foot and we're going to step to the side and we're going to do an ankle tilt to the inside here. So it's very much the same motion, except now we're dragging the foot into this motion, okay? And we're gonna go to the left side now. Put the foot forward slightly across the body, tilt the ankle to the outside, feeling that pull to the outside of the ankle bone, 3 to 5 repetitions, and then we're gonna step sideways and do the same thing to the inside, right? And then we're gonna move up the chain here a bit. All right, so now moving up to the knees, putting one foot out in front. You can imagine being in a slight wrestling stance, but keeping the good posture for right now. And we're going to do easy knee circles with the knee out in front. The back knee can just go along for the ride. This one's the one that we're trying to work with. And so we're making the biggest circle around our feet as we can. Both directions, 3 to 5 repetitions, and then the other side. For most of us who are athletes, this is a comfortable position because this is how we engage when we're in the sport, and so this should feel very good. Right? Now we could do the same thing on the back knee, and especially since in wrestling you're pushing off of that back leg, this actually is a really good place to do that knee circle. So now we're concentrating on the back knee to do the same motions. Right? Think of how many times your feet are in this position and you're having to employ that back leg for good movement and engagement. So we really want good competency through that back knee, just like this. And notice I'm keeping my feet really flat. In the beginning, if you've got problems, you're going to find that your foot is rolling all over the place. And that's okay, but try to keep the feet flat. It'll get better. Now we're moving up to the hips. And again, we're going to go into that more athletic stance. This back hip is what we're going to engage with. And this back leg is going to be locked through the knee. And I'm going to do hip circles. Again, good posture, nice round circles of the hip around the leg and back the other way. So I'm not bending over and I'm not going all over the place with the rest of my body. It's all very much coming from this area here. Right? I'm going to switch it around to the other side. Same thing. Back legs locked. Nice big circles. Good. 3 to 5 repetitions. And then moving on. Now, since we're in wrestling mode here, we're going to step sideways. Same thing over here. You could put this leg in infinite number of positions, and if you considered you had a clock face around you, you could put it in every point along the clock face and do the same motion, right? So imagine all the different positions that you find yourself in wrestling. Put yourself in those positions and do these drills, okay? So from there, we're gonna go into some lumbar spine and thoracic spine motion here. The important part with the spine is that when it's very mobile, you can transmit energy through it and allows you to, again, take the strength that you get from the ground and put it through to the person that you're working with, right? Or even a ball or a bat, other things. So we're gonna do some lumbar circles. And it's gonna start with this, nice and tall. I'm gonna arch to the side and I'm just gonna go to the front here and I'm gonna just roll forward. While I'm doing this, I'm just hanging on my spine. I'm not feeling this in my hamstrings. This is not a hamstring stretch. And most of the time, when we're doing motions like this, we think that we need to feel it in the hamstrings, and that's not really where we need to go here. We're really getting that low back. Hit one from the side here just so you can see it. And notice I come back up to nice and tall. And when you come forward, you're just naturally going to want to breathe out while you do that. Now, we're going to go up a little bit higher in the thoracic spine. I'll do this one exclusively from the side. This is an anterior or forward and backward thoracic glide. Same idea, but I'm going through here. Now, most people who are in wrestling or do any kind of combatives work, they're locked in this position here. So this coming forward and getting tall is actually kind of difficult for most of us. But if that is difficult, taking it sideways actually might help to unlock that motion. So putting the arms out to the side, getting really tall, and then just gliding from side to side like that might unlock this forward and back motion. And getting tall. And then the other thing that we see a ton of in wrestling and combative sports is this forward head position and getting that locked in. So what we'll do there is getting nice and tall, and we're going to practice going forward a little bit. Most of us are too good at that already, but then coming back and pulling the spine, the neck, back that way, and as you do, get tall. All right. And then one last one, and this is for just about any athlete, and especially athletes who are in the weight room and whatnot. Shoulders get jacked all the time, especially if your back is all jacked and your shoulders are always forward, and then you're doing pushing motions in the weight room. These shoulders can get really worn really badly, and then you lose the ability to engage and to pull. And so we're going to teach those shoulders to sit where they're supposed to. So we first have to have this nice tall spine, right? And then we're going to do what's called a camshaft. So the arm is nice and long, thumb is up, and we're going to draw a circle with the end of my shoulder. I'm going to start with a square though, so I can know I'm hitting the full range of motion of my shoulder. So I'm bringing the shoulder forward, which is called protraction. I'm elevating it, and then retracting it or pulling it posterior and then down again. Now notice my neck isn't getting all tight or anything like that. So in the beginning, you might have to go really small, and that's okay, to get a nice smooth motion. But as time goes on, that motion will increase and increase as you become better at this motion. And then together with that nice tall spine, those shoulder blades will sit back, and then you have the ability to pull and to push from a position of strength. The other part is that you just become much more aware of your body and the opponent's body, because your joints are talking to your brain well, and your brain is now sensing what's going on internally as well as what's going on externally, and it'll make you a better athlete all the way around. Just being in this position here, how flexible are you in being able to employ your conditioning in different ranges of motion, right? You can imagine that upright, you start, being able to let somebody manipulate you, and you finding ways around that manipulation so you can gain control back, But that requires you to have access to those joints individually, right? So here's those figure eights, right? Which I think we've done with you before, right? So that figure eight.
Thanks, Doc. I really like that clip, and a lot of those mobility drills have been things that have helped me over the last 3 years kind of keep myself going the way we sometimes do in wrestling, like we like to push our bodies. So it's been nice to have some of this ability to fix myself. And so with this clip here, we're watching some different movements that you're doing. What's kind of going on here?
Well, here's me, a 46-year-old guy with, I've had my back injuries, I've had my knee surgeries and such like that. And with my COVID extra 19 pounds, unfortunately, there, over this shut-in. But I'm just going through some basic movements. So once we're training and we're waking up that nervous system to look at each joint separately, which we did in the first clip. Now we're starting to make compounding movements, and for a lot of people who do mat work, combatives and MMA type work, BJJ and wrestling, all that type of stuff, some of this stuff should look very familiar, right? We're on the mat in various positions, positioning ourselves, defending ourselves, and such like that. And this is compounded movement, but it requires every part of this person, me in this case, to be able to move well in order for me to do it in such a way that it can become athletic. Otherwise it stays an academic exercise that only I can do with myself. And so we started out with just doing some easy spinal rolling, basically rolling sit-ups and such, and then turning it into leg and hip motions. And such. So now, after a while, after you do this discrete motion and you learn to move your body at one point at a time, then we can start to put it together in meaningful sets of motion that then can be employed in the sport and such. And then this becomes my warm-up, right? Instead of having to do one joint at a time all the time, I can graduate to more complex compounded movements. But it's actually a combination of these discrete pieces, but my nervous system is ready for this. Now, don't get the idea that now this is all I do. I go back, and my partner Pat Marquez, who you've interviewed as well, he goes back to this two times a week, and he has for years, where he's going back to doing one joint at a time and then doing compounded stuff and other times. And so his warm-up time has become less and less and become much more effective. And then you buy the right or buy the privilege to be able to move and do complex things like this and do more in your sport rather than spending all your time doing remedial stuff. No, this kind of stuff is really, really fun. Being able to learn how to move and allow your brain to unlock performance without you having to constantly try to rip it out of it, right? Or train it into it or rip it out of it, one or the other, right? It's a lot of fun, and because then you find your body doing things you didn't actually train specifically. A good example, I've got lots of kids. I got 3 kids, right? And when they were little, when I was training a lot of this stuff and training my eyes, we'd go out to the playground and play all the time, and they're always like playing tag and such. And I'd take that ball, and I got to the point where, again, just doing vision training and doing some of the other training I was doing, I could take them at 20 yards with the ball, and they're diving and everything, and I'm hitting them, and I don't feel like I practiced the throwing that much to be that good at hitting the target every time. And they thought it was like magic, and now they're doing it to me. So
the sensei has become the student.
or at least the training dummy is more like it.
Okay, I like it. This is great. You'd mentioned that we're going to be talking with Pat Marquez, one of your partners. He's going to be doing the visual vestibular work with us on part 2 of this video. Maybe you could set that up a little. What is that?
Yeah, so if you wanted to take 3 basic components of what the nervous system needs to drive the body into performance, right? It needs 3 basic inputs. One is that proprioceptive piece, which we've talked about, right? The other 2 are vision and vestibular. Vision is how we see danger, it's how we see the opponent, the tiger or whatnot, right? And vestibular is how we orient ourselves to the world and in order to deal with that problem, right? So we need all 3 of those inputs, and really the nervous system only cares about really 2 things. One is getting you from the couch to the refrigerator, fuel and sustenance, right? And getting you away from the tiger. Now, of course, on the mat, we're going towards the tiger, right? But that requires that all the input going into the nervous system is such that it allows you to do that, keep the threat low, so that way you can be successful, whether it's escape or attack, it doesn't really matter. But all 3 of those components, vision, vestibular, and proprioception, work together to generate probably 90% of your performance right now.
Wow. So that's really the full picture, is when all 3 of these come together.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's other smaller parts that are definitely worth talking about. But if you get those 3 things right every time, everything kind of falls into place for good performance.
Really cool. As we're starting to wind down here, any final comments for our members, for those folks watching, about mobility training and about your clinic, and maybe how we can find out more information?
On training, it's again going back to this idea that the fundamentals matter. And fundamentals of movement matters most. If we get the fundamentals of movement right, then training the athlete to be the athlete that you want them to be or that they want to be becomes easier and easier. It frustrates me to no end to see parents or coaches or athletes themselves feel like they're not going to make it. They're not good athletes. They don't have the confidence and everything. When really what it is that they're missing something in their ability to learn. And a lot of it starts at the fact that they're poor movers. And if they moved better, then they're going to be better athletes. They're going to be better students. They're going to be better kids, period, right? So that's from the kid's standpoint. But from the adult athlete, it's a lot less frustrating to keep working uphill all the time. And it's a lot more fun to take the brakes off. And that's what that fundamental movement piece is really about. What we do in the clinic is, of course, we fix a lot of the problems that come out of this type of a situation where with bad movement, like with hamstrings and knees and such like that, so that they can be hikers up the Appalachian Trail, and eliminating that. But we also work with a lot of athletes that have had chronic concussion, post-concussive type problems, and trying to remediate those and get them back into play and feeling like a human being again. And we see a lot of that. And how they can get in touch with us, if you simply go online and you look for Neuro Athlete, whether it be on Facebook or online, neuroathlete.com, or our clinic.neuroathlete.com. You can find us and communicate with us at all times. We love talking to coaches and giving them ideas and whatnot. We also do mentoring and training with coaches online on how to use tools, how to employ these tools within their individual athlete population as well as with their teams and such. And we have some coaches that have become the movement experts, and they become fundamentally different coaches, and we love teaching them and pointing them in the right direction on that.
That's great. Just anytime we have the opportunity to open more doors and create new resources for our coaches, our athletes, and our parents out there. This doesn't just have to be an athlete. centered program, this can be something that helps everybody just with your daily life, right?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. If you become a better human being, whether that's a better human being movement wise or behavior wise or habits wise, things like that, you're a better athlete, you're a better parent, you're a better coach.
Amen. I love it. Well, Grove, thanks for all you do. Thanks for the time that you and all the folks at Neuro Athlete put into USA Wrestling and donate back. Any last words for our folks?
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to get out there and preach this gospel, as it were, and share with people who have a huge passion for helping people achieve their best. And so this is a great honor to be able to be here doing this with you.
I remember, I think at the first time that you did some mobility work with me, you said that the goal is that I didn't come in every week. You didn't want to see me very often. You just wanted me coming back and forth for tune-ups because you wanted to give me the tools. And I thought anybody that's trying to push business away to be able to give people a better quality of life, they must have a pretty good soul. So for what it's worth, I think you got a pretty good soul, my friend.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that a lot.
For all of us at USA Wrestling, Moments Off the Mat, and all the folks at Neuro Athlete, I'm Mike Clayton. Have a great day, everybody.